Welcome to Shotgun Sports USA. I'm your host, Justin Barker, and I talk to shotgun shooters from all over the world in every discipline, as well as coaches, gun clubs, target setters, vendors, and industry-leading companies that fuel the sport. Check us out online at shotgunsportsusa.com, like us on Facebook, and follow us on Instagram. Shotgun Sports USA is powered by Winchester Ammunition, the American legend. Also brought to you by Ultimate Shooting Accessories, Rick Hemingway's Promatic Trap Cells, Sound Gear Phantom, Comp and Choke, Clay Shooter Supply, Clay Target Vision, and Cole Gunsmithing. My guest on the show today has been around this sport for a long time. He's been on both the Great Britain national team as well as Team USA numerous times. He is in the NSCA Hall of Fame and has coached some of the biggest names in the sport and still does to this day. Please welcome to the show, John Woolley. John, welcome to the show.
Hey, Justin. Yeah, good to see you.
Yeah.
Well, good to hear from you, I should say.
Yeah. Well, if we were on FaceTime, I guess you could say good to see you. But so, I've had a lot of requests to have you on, and you're such an interesting guy with an interesting history in this sport that I don't know that we'll be able to get it all in, but we're going to try.
Well, I'll be glad to answer anything you want to.
You started your career in England. We're talking about your shooting career, but something else I found out about you, we have something in common. You've actually been in the car business a long time ago. Yeah.
We used to have a car sales, myself and my brother-in-law, Colin. We started a car business, and then we ended up with car rentals and that type of thing. I'm one of these guys that's sort of always looking the way to try and earn a pound in England.
Yeah. Well, when did you get into this sport?
I started when I was actually 15 years old. I had a friend of mine that he took me to a little local shoot, and then I worked with there was like a little syndicate, what they call a syndicate in England, where you look after pheasants and that. And I used to help the guys look after the birds. I used to go and feed them because I lived real close to where the land was.
Right. And
so it was easy for me to go there and feed the birds and look after them. And part of my deal was I had to kill the foxes and anything actually that had a pheasant.
Yeah. So you were helping raise game birds.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. My grandparents were farmers in England, and my job as a little kid was to actually catch rabbits and pigeons because we didn't have too much protein.
Really?
After the Second World War, yeah, we used to kill a chicken every Sunday, and if we were lucky, we got a turkey at Christmas, but that was about it.
Wow. Now, John, how old are you now?
Actually, I'm 69.
All right, so you've been in this sport since you were basically 15, all the way to when you're 69.
Yeah.
I mean, did you ever think that this sport would lead you to a lifetime career?
Not really. I mean, as a kid, I think everybody has dreams, and my dream as a kid was to actually go to the Olympics. I went around and looked at the various stuff, and I started shooting actually Olympic ski, but I got bored with that pretty quickly. I was pretty good at it, but I got bored with it. And then I started shooting Olympic trap, but in both Olympic ski and Olympic trap in Britain at the time, number one, you wasn't allowed to win any money. So if you won a prize, you couldn't take it. And I paid for my own shooting. So the only way I could actually shoot was by winning money. And it was sort of kind of funny, but the Irish team manager came to me one day. He said, "Do you want to come and shoot some FITASC with us?" This was back in 1979. And I said, "Yeah." I said, "I'll come and have a go." He said, "I think this game will really suit you." the way I shot. I used to shoot bunker trap, the Olympic trap, with a lot of second barrels. And so he said to me, yeah, come and shoot it with us. And so I did. It was a British Grand Prix, it was called. And I got my first layout, never shot it before. I'm first guy up and in the squad. And the stand was actually right beside a little river or stream. You'd call it a creek over here. It was very small, but it was relatively straight. And my first bird that I got to see was a bird that was, in those days, it was manual machines, by the way. It was a clay target that was put upside down on a hand machine, Bowman, if I remember rightly.
Mm-hmm.
And it went down the river, bounced on the river 3 or 4 times or more, and then you whacked it sometime there, and then if you missed it, it just sank down. And the first bird came out. It came out, bounced on the water a couple of times. I whacked it and killed it, and I was in love. And I've loved FITASC from that day till actually just in Italy this last week for the World FITASC.
How was that trip?
It was great. I mean, it was very hot. A lot of people suffer with the heat. Personally, I can't use that as an excuse. The heat was hot, but both afternoons I shot very well. In the mornings, I didn't shoot so good, so ended up 10th in my group, the veterans group. But
yeah,
little disappointed.
But you won. What did you end up, second in the World Cup?
Yeah, I actually got runner-up in the World Cup, so I was pretty pleased with that. That's all. I've always thought, the average over the year is almost better than just winning a one-off,
Explain that, John. Explain how that works, the World Cup.
Well, the World Cup is all over the world. You have the Australasian Championship, Pan-African Championship, European Worlds, obviously, and over here in America we have a couple, the Grand Prix and the North American Championships, those sort of things. And then there's other shoots too. And what ends up happening is the best average shooter over at least 3 events, including the World Championships, that's how they generate your score. And I was lucky enough to come second this year.
But didn't you win that last year?
Actually, 2020.
2020.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've been second many times, but it's one of those things you always like to win. And I actually won it back in 85 and 89, shooting for Britain.
Didn't you start your shooting school in England?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. When did you start that?
Actually, I was 25 years old, so 44 years ago.
How did that come about?
It was a necessity, really. I always helped, a lot of the shooters that I shot with as friends, and then other people would ask me to, help them, and so then I'll start getting paid for doing that, and it just grew and grew and grew. Really, people liked what I showed. I had going back into that period of time between 25 and 30, I did generate 2 or 3 world champions. It just grew.
When you were shooting over in England, you won several titles, and you were on the GB national team, and I know you won several team gold medals. What are some of your achievements back then in England that you're the most proud of?
Honestly, I'm a team guy. I really like doing team stuff.
Yeah.
And Britain at the time had a really good team group that were working together. John Bidwell, myself, AJ Smith, who's no longer with us, unfortunately, and Paddy Howe or Jerry Cowler were the main guys.
Mm-hmm.
And if John Bidwell, myself, and AJ Smith was on British team, we never lost a medal, ever.
Really?
We won every time. Yeah, my first time actually shooting for the team was 1984, and it was in Portugal, Vila Moura, Portugal, and we were down by 17 after the going into the last day, and we took 18 off the French team the last day.
Wow.
I personally ended up fourth. AJ won it. John Bidwell ended up sixth, I think it was, and Paddy Howe was on the team, and I think he ended up ninth. So, but we did a lot of good work that last day.
Yeah, it sounds like it. 18's a lot. So when did you decide to move to the U.S. and why did you make that decision?
I really didn't decide to. I've got invited by George and Janine Van that owned a club called Grinder Switch, and Janine was on my squad in 1990, the same year I won the Beretta World, and she wasn't shooting so good, so I was trying to help her to help myself, and she liked what I said, so her and her husband, she said she wanted me to meet her husband, so I met George, and they were big wigs in FITASC at the time for the US, and they asked me if I'd come over. Well, I'd come over to Grinder Switch, which I don't know if you know where that is. It was just outside Nashville.
Okay.
It was Centerville, Tennessee is where it was. And so never intended to stay. I just came over a couple of weeks, and then everybody started shooting, better scores than they'd ever shot in their lives before. And so they asked me if I'd be interested in coming over on a 5-year contract. Never intended to stay, but I thought I was at a time of my life, as I told you, I had several other businesses, and my sister was running my businesses at home, so I actually had the opportunity to get away and do some different things. And so I said, yeah, I'll give it a go. It'd be nice. I was in a situation where I could, and so I came over. Never intended to stay, but here I am. I'm still here.
It's still here.
32 years later.
Yeah. Well, once you got here in the States, you continue to be one of the top shooters, and I know that you were on the U.S. Sporting and FITASC teams. So
yeah, I
would think being on the GB team and the U.S. team, that had to make you somewhat proud to know that you've made both teams.
Yeah, it's a real honor, and as I say, the team thing has always been big for me. It's actually more important than the individual stuff. I'm one of these guys that don't want to let the other guys down, so you always try and do more than your best, and it's worked out very good. I got inducted in the Hall of Fame in 2015, and that, in my opinion, is the biggest thing biggest accolade you can get, right, to as far as shooting is concerned, and to be being given it in the USA is unbelievable.
Yeah.
America's still the land of opportunity.
Even though some people may not think so, it is.
No, it definitely is. Yeah. Trust me.
Yeah. So you may not know this answer, but is there anyone else that you know of that has been on 2 different countries' teams like that?
Apparently, there's nobody.
I figured somebody had.
There's been a couple that have been the reserves.
Mm-hmm.
Gary Phillips was the reserve 1 year in the World English in England, but nobody that's actually represented another country has come to the US and represented the US.
Wow.
In England, they call me a turncoat.
So, yeah, I mean, when you go to England, what do you feel like you're from there or from here? Which one do you feel like you are when you're there?
No, now I definitely feel I'm from here.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't even have any second thoughts about it, to be honest with you.
Yeah. So you wanted to get into FITASC target setting, which opened several doors for you. And you've set countless courses, a bunch. And the FITASC organization even lets you head up and teach the world's first international course design program. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, we, John-Francois Palinkas, who's head of FITASC, asked me if I could, if I'd be interested in helping them design the new, new system, as it's called, which is the 4 different stations where you walk from one to the set next to the next to the next.
Right.
And against the old system. Well, the old system, you can only have 288 people. With the new system, you can have 1,226. And so, it made sense to me, because the old system would get filled up. And then, people who wanted to come from various countries in the world couldn't come. So I made a point of working with Jean-Francois and getting people to really enjoy the new system. It was all about target quality and keeping everything interested is what it was. That's a pretty big difference in numbers. Explain how that works. Well, in the old system, you had 5 machines per layout. And so you had to have 3 stations or even 4 stations per layout, depending in different stages of the old system. And when you have that amount of stages, it takes 3/4 of an hour to an hour to shoot one layout. Whereas the new system, you can have 4 different stations. Each station has 4 machines on it. So you have, 4 on the first, 4 on the second, say 3 on the third and 4 on the fourth. And then you have 5 pairs. 1 pair, the 4 bird stations, you have 1 pair. The 3 bird station, you have 2 pairs. And so you end up with, 10 targets in pairs and 15 targets as singles.
Yeah.
And so you got 6 people shooting, and they usually start at about 15-minute segments. Actually, it's a little bit less now. And then by the last day, you're working on roughly 10 minutes per squad per station on the last day, because they're trying to get it through, quick enough that they can, get everything done for shoot-offs and stuff like that.
You also have clubs that still do both, right?
Yeah. In Europe, pretty much it's all new system. Over here, we still, like at the various events, they do new and old. The bigger events, they do sometimes they do a new system, but for most part, it's old system over here.
That's why I've just never really got into liking FITASC so much, because it takes so long to shoot it on the old system. The majority of the times that I've shot FITASC has always been the old system. Yeah,
it's all about numbers, and I'm not 100% sure why the clubs don't change the way they do it. Like at the Nationals now, they're doing a new system, but with 3 stations. You could do that over a lot of the big events, but like the US Open, I mean, you could have over 2,000 shooters come through over the 5-6 days. They're going to shoot.
Yeah,
and if you wanted to, so it would make sense, and eventually it's going to come. It's just they're still working their way through the nooks and crannies, so to speak.
Yeah. You're a well-known shotgun coach now. You've got several students that you've helped go to win big titles. Are you still coaching as much as you used to?
Yeah, I still coach quite a bit. I do. I've cut it since COVID. I cut it down to 5 days a week because I like to fish, and so I started fishing quite a bit, saltwater fishing, and here in St. Augustine, and it's worked out pretty good.
Yeah.
But one, you talked earlier about stuff that you have won, and what gives you a lot of pleasure. But one of the biggest pleasures for me is actually watching my pupils win, different events. And I was very proud of Ashley Little. She just won this year's World FITASC, and she was awesome. She shot basically from the front all the way through. Very proud of her.
Yeah, I want you to now in the episode we did with Ashley. She said that you found a flaw in her game, and it was her hat. And you noticed that she needed to be shooting left-handed and not right-handed. I want you to go into that story a little bit of how you knew to look for that hat.
Well, years ago, actually before Ashley, I had a young boy, and he was 14, came from Alabama, and he'd come and have regular lessons with me, and he would shoot absolutely brilliantly in lessons. And slightly different story, but he shoot brilliantly with lessons, and then in tournaments he wouldn't do any good at all. And so one day I said to him, Matt, I said, I really would like you to come and shoot with me, or I'll shoot with you in a tournament, because I want to see what you're doing different, because it wasn't making sense. And so anyway, turned out that he'd always wore his favorite hat when he was shooting in tournaments, but when practice he would wear any hat. So he had this hat, had a lot of curvature to the hat itself at the front. And so when he was actually shooting with me, he two eyes open, right-handed, right eye dominant, all the right stuff, and he'd be just whacking targets. Then he'd put his favorite hat on, and he'd become a one-eyed shooter, because the curvature of the hat was covering his left eye. Even though he was right eye dominant, it covered his left eye. So it's something I learned over the years, and watched on many occasions people doing something similar. So Ashley was actually shooting right-handed, but she was left eye dominant. And so the very first time I see her, and I actually see it I shot a tournament with her, and we was squatted together, and I actually see what she was doing, and I could see the difference between the low birds and the high birds. So the low birds, the curvature covered the left eye. The higher birds, it tended to get lost a little bit. So she'd look underneath it, and so she would miss very easy birds high, and but she did all the lower stuff. And she's very competitive. Have you met her? Do you know her?
Oh yeah, I've met her.
Yeah, so she's very competitive, and so I actually the very first lesson that she came up to me, her dad said, did you teach Cherry? And I said, yeah. And he said, well, you're a lot closer than Cherry, so we're going to come up and see you if that's okay. That's how it started. And they came up to see me, and I worked on her the first time and said, you really need to change left-handed. Well, I think her dad was about to get back in the car and leave, and Ashley wouldn't have been far behind him. But so I said, okay, we'll work with you as she was, because she could shoot. I mean, she was a good shot. She just needed a lot of polishing,
Yeah.
And so anyway, cut a long story short, we worked for a couple of years like that. She got fifth in the standings for the US team 2 years in a row, and it was by less than one target. And I shot with her quite a bit at different events, so I got to see at close hand what she was doing, and she probably missed 20 targets or more because of the eye dominance thing. And so I said to her, it was probably about 6-7 years ago now, I said to her, I let the nationals go, and she was fifth again by 1/10 of a point. And I just said to her, I said, look, you want to be the best, you can be the best, but you can't be it right-handed. You've got to change. And so I spoke to her on the phone, and we made arrangements. And me and Mike Leopold, basically from SNS Plus, basically hoodwinked her into coming up, and and we had a stock made for her, you know, pattern stock, and we had a working left-handed. It wasn't pretty, I've got to say, to start with, because she was so right-eye dominant, and it wasn't. But I mean, you know, she practiced her gun mount like I showed her, and left-handed. 2 weeks later, she shot 100 straight in a charity shoot. So
that's crazy.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously they were easy targets, but
right,
you know, it's not easy to shoot 100 straight anywhere.
No,
and but she is a really, really good pupil that really works hard at the idiosyncrasies of the game, and has worked on the mental game and everything else. And I've got to say, I'm proud of her. After she won the world, I texted her and just said, congratulations, all that. I said, now watch out for your mum, because I'm teaching her mum. And mum's up in AA right now.
Who have you helped at one point or another in their game that we may know?
Greg Wolf, Wendell, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Wendell Cherry, Greg Wolf, Dusty Loberg, Gary Fitzgerald. I mean, Carolyn Van, who doesn't shoot well, she's actually passed away now, but there's a bunch of people that have been on the team. One year I had 4 out of 5 of the senior team, the main team.
Yeah.
One lady, one junior, 3 veterans, and 3 super veterans were all my pupils.
Tell me about your coaching program, how it works, and how do you coach?
Basically, what I do is I watch people shoot. I really don't care how they shoot. There's a basic method that every top shooter in the world shoots. And you know, a lot of people have the gun in the shoulder a little bit longer, a little bit less. But I always watch what they do first. And once I see what they're doing, then I look behind the problem. Because, you know, it's like if you want to build a good, strong house, what do? You lay a solid foundation.
Right.
And so if your foundation is bad, the house isn't going to go very high before it falls down.
Correct.
And it's exactly the same when you teach. I keep looking back behind until I see the root of the problem.
Yeah.
And you know, it can be as small a thing as a hand grip or a foot position, or it can be, you know, the hat can be in the way. It can be lots of different things, or they're just beginners and they just haven't really got a technique. In which case, I always give them one.
Yep. So, as a coach, what are some of the most important things that someone learning this game should focus on most to become successful?
Well, I always tell everybody when I'm teaching, there's 2 basic things that people do wrong. A lot of people start with the gun up in the shoulder, mm-hmm. and in the very early days, and then they take the gun to the bird and learn to break targets in certain situations, certain ways. And then, you know, there's a FITASC style shooter, it starts gun down. Well, if you look at the top shooters today, all of them shoot a lot of high gun. Wendell Cherry, Zach, Anthony, and you can name them all. Corey Cruz, Greg Wolf, they all shoot a lot of high gun today. But they didn't learn that way. They learned with the gun down. So they learned to see the target the right way first, and then they started getting the gun up. And so what I found is that I tend to teach most of the people with a lower gun, so that I teach them the gun mount. And that way I can then teach them how to see the target clearly the right way, and then you can gradually bring the gun up to where it needs to be.
So when you talk about gun down, you're talking about a FITASC mount, or are you talking about just
a FITASC mount, or a little bit higher? It doesn't have to be down that low.
Okay.
But a FITASC mount, or just, you know, below the armpit there. So it's a much shorter move, but it gives you, you know, to be able to see the bird clearly, you have to get the gun out of the way. And so if you've got the gun out of the way, you can then see the target and move the gun as you'd like to.
Isn't that a problem with some people that shoot like a fast target, maybe a trap target that's fast, and you shoot low gun? Is that ever an issue with people?
It is in the beginning, but it's all part of the learning process.
Right.
So you know, if you shoot and if you shoot and miss a few birds low gun, but you learn how to mount the gun like you're supposed to, then down the road you can bring the gun up, and then it's not an issue.
Yeah.
I mean, I can shoot gun up or gun down. It doesn't make any difference. But I always tend to shoot gun down because that's how I teach my pupils. And but the if you're going to shoot a trap target, and I really needed it to win, I would have no issue putting a gun up in my shoulder if I had to.
You know, the first tournament I ever attended was in Florida, and one of the first vendors that I ever saw was your trailer, and that was the Florida Challenge. And nearly every shoot that I've been to after that, you or someone else from your team has been at most of them. So how long have you been selling new and used shotguns like this, and how long have you been out on the road doing this?
Well, we've been selling shotguns for a long time, but in 2008 is when we started traveling with us and with it a little bit, and you know, we just got a little bit more, and now we've actually got two stores. You know, we've got the one here in St. Augustine, and we got one at the Nationals at the complex there, and that Mo Parsons run, and then we got Nick and Jonathan, and Nick McGlory, Jonathan Henry and Abby Chambers that all work for me here in St. Augustine. And actually, Nick leaves tomorrow to go to Chicago. He's up there in Chicago, and then he'll be at the Ohio State after that, the week after.
You're not going to the regional?
No, I just got back. We had one of those horrible journeys getting back from Italy. It took, supposed to have taken 16 hours. It took 40.
God, yeah. That would put a bad taste in my mouth too. So let's talk. Let's talk more about this gun business, because I can remember seeing your trailer that day, and you had a couple tables out. But now when you go, you seem like you have 15 tables out. Is that just because your business has grown that much over the few years that you need to just bring that many guns with you? Yeah,
we bring a few more now than we used to. We usually got a bit, around 100 or so with us, but the business has grown. There's no question about that. But you've got to be in front of people with the right sort of guns and that they want to buy. We've taken on a couple of newer models for us. Beretta has come on and Yield is in recent years, and I'm personally sponsored by Cesar Guerini, so they are one of our biggest dealers or sellers, and Blaser also, and Zoli. They would be our 5 main lines, basically.
Which one sells the best for you? Can you answer that?
I don't mind. Cesar Guerini, we sell more of Cesar Guerini. Dollar amount is probably Blaser, and Zoli's catching up. There's no question.
Yeah, Zoli to me seems like one of those guns that's really good, but you don't hear a whole lot about. Why is that?
I think they're still growing. That's the reason. I mean, I actually, when we was in Italy after the World Championships, we went to both Cesar Guerini, Fab Arm, and Zoli. So Cesar Guerini has Fab Arm and as well as their own Cesar Guerini company, and we see both factories, and we spent a half a day with Zoli also. I've been one of their biggest dealers since 2008. It's a really nice gun, well put together. They've got good service now, which is what they didn't have before with Norbert over there in San Antonio. So it's a very good, fast moving gun, and people like it. We get more cold calls on Zolis than we probably get on anything else.
Really?
Cold calls, yeah.
Hmm.
Now, Blaser and Caesar, I think we're their biggest dealers in both of them. We definitely are in Blaser, and I'm pretty confident we are in Caesar as well.
Now, is Blaser sort of taking a move to the rifle side more than the shotgun side right now?
They did, and they are heading back to the shotguns. They've had a lot of change around in Blaser and over the last couple of years.
Right.
And as most people know, that's how come we got Mo Parsons working for us, because he was working with Blaser. But it's a different, but they're definitely going back to shotguns. They got Josh McBrayer over now, and that's heading up the shotgun side, and Jason Evans is the in charge of the company over here, and he was more of a rifle guy. Really didn't know anything about shotguns. They're both super nice guys,
right.
And so I think Blaser's gonna come back in and do a little bit of a splash in the shotguns again.
Yeah. So you said you had two places, one in Texas and one in Florida. Are they both open all the time?
Yeah. The one in Texas at the complex is open by phone call. It's Monday through Friday. There's usually somebody there, but our place here is open Wednesday through Sunday.
I know you trade in pre-owned guns, and I'm sure you like the pre-owned side of it.
Yeah, sometimes.
Now, do you encourage people to trade? Is that something you like for them to do? Is trade their guns to you?
Yeah, we have got no problem with them trading. If they want to trade it, we're glad to do it if we can.
Yeah.
We just had a situation actually where just recently a guy come in and he wants to trade his gun, and he's got a cracked forearm. Well, we know the gun company. I'm not going to mention the gun company. It's not one of our models, by the way, that we sell, and we know that gun company. We know basically the service that they give, and so we know that it's going to be tough for us to get a forend to put on it, and so people like that, we can't give them a price we'd like to give them, because what we class as a fair price, because we know we're going to have issues on the back end, but if there's no issues with the gun, they always get a fair price from us.
What's your plans in the future for coaching, your gun business? Where would you like to see it in future years?
I love coaching, so I'm still going to continue to do that. I'm already 69, as I said earlier. But for the last 3 or 4 years with COVID and everything as well, adding on top of that, I sort of took a little bit step back from shooting. But I love to shoot. I love to compete. So one of my goals is, I talked to Gretchen about it, and I've really just got to put my mind back to doing it. And actually, this last shoot in Italy here was one that sort of got me adrenaline going again. So I might actually practice before we go to an event.
Well, John, I've really enjoyed talking to you. I know there's so many things that we could cover, but it's kind of one of those things when you're talking to them in the heat of the moment, you forget about them. But there's just so many things that I know that you could talk about. You're a wealth of knowledge for sure, and I appreciate you coming on, man.
Oh, you're welcome, mate. Anytime. If you ever want to do it again, let us know. Hopefully, we'll get to shoot together again sometime.
Yeah, that was fun. We shot together at was it US Open?
Yeah, US Open. Yeah, on the 5 stand.
Yeah, we sure did. I think you stood. Yeah. I think you shot next to me. It was good.
Yeah, who gives you lessons? It looks like Zach Keinbaum, or
I've shot with Zach more than anybody, probably.
Yeah, you got a lot of similarities. One thing you can see when you watch somebody shoot, you can usually see who's been working with them. Yeah. And so, Zach would be the one that I would have put you down first.
But now, if I could just start winning like Zach does, then I'd be good.
Well, you look, I promise you, you look smooth when I was watching you. I was impressed with that, and that's where you got that from Zach. So
yeah,
keep up the good work.
Yeah, man, we'll do it. And thank you for coming on. For people wanting to get in touch with you for some sort of instruction, how do they get in touch with you?
They can call me. If I don't answer, it's usually because I'm teaching, but my number's 904-521-8315. They can email me to John, John, Woolley, Woolley, 0501 @att.net.
There you go. I'll put that in the notes of the show. That way somebody can just see it, copy it, or just click it and email you. But thank you, John. I appreciate you coming on, man. And I look forward to seeing you at the next shoot. I don't know which one that's going to be, but I look forward to seeing you there.
Nice to talk to you, man.